Hello everyone, I have been a long hauler since January 2021 and it totally destroyed my life. Prior to COVID I was married to a beautiful and wonderful wife, 2 kids, and a nice home. In December of 2020 I had just landed a new job and was making more money than ever. However, my nightmare began in January 2021 when I caught COVID. I felt off before work and decided to get a rapid test and was positive for COVID. So I went and isolated myself in the basement, and my wife at the time would bring me food, water and medicine. Then when her and the kids slept I would go up for a shower. For the first week it wasn't that bad and it just felt like a cold. However, week 2 got dramatically worse. I was extremely tired and started sleeping about 18 hours a day. My head was super foggy and I couldn't think straight. The body aches were unbearable, my lungs felt like hot needles were being jabbed into them. It was one of the worst feelings ever. It eventually got so bad that I had my wife call the ambulance. They told me I needed to go outside, and as soon as I did I collapsed on the front lawn and all my wife could do was watch. The EMTs examined me and said that my vitals weren't bad enough to warrant a trip to the ER and helped bring me into the house. It was the worst feeling ever watching my young children see me like that. Unfortunately I just had to bear it, and after a month I finally tested negative from COVID but still felt the same. So I went to the ER and they said I had a pneumonia. I was bedridden for another month but was finally able to move a little bit and was able to start taking walks. Unfortunately my marriage was having some issues prior to me getting sick. And March of that year my wife asked for a divorce. I told her I wanted to try and wait till I got better and had a stable job, but she didn't wait, and so I gave it to her. Which really sucked because she was my rock the entire time. I started going on walks and getting tons of sun. I got the vaccine because they said it would make me feel better. And everyone said I just needed to be active and get exercise. So I decided to try and get a job as a construction worker, which only lasted a month and a half before I had to stop. And I really screwed myself because I had unemployment and now I couldn't get it anymore. We did make a lot from the sale of our house, but a lot of that money went to child support. So after we sold the house I ended up moving back in with my parents, which sucked because they had almost no room for me and some of my brothers lived there, so it was packed. After I couldn't work I was basically bedridden again, sleeping between 12 to 18 hours a day. My father and brothers started giving me shit and bad-mouthing me. It really sucked to be kicked like that. Even worse, nobody really knew what was going on and I became really depressed and isolated. I started eating junk and not really taking care of myself. My mom started to really push me and encourage me to start eating well, so I did, and it became something we bonded over. She also started using cannabis, which helped me a lot, so that was another thing we bonded over. However, her health started to decline and one day she asked us to call 911, so we did. After about a week there, they said she needed a kidney transplant, but the hopes of getting one were slim because of her age. I had tried to hold on to hope and she seemed like she was doing okay. Then one day I got a call that they had to put her on a respirator, and they said she didn't have much longer. I didn't want to believe it since she was the one who was taking care of me. Eventually, we had to pull the plug and let her go. It really devastated me, but I had 2 young kids that I had to focus on. So I went and put a lot more effort into getting better. I tried to work a remote sales job for a while, but it wasn't working out for me. Eventually, I reached out to an old army buddy, and he suggested I speak to his psychiatrist at the VA, so I figured why not. So he drove me into the city and took me right up to this office. As soon as I met him, I told him about long COVID, and for the first time ever I heard, "I'm so sorry to hear that, but you are in luck. I run the long COVID clinic here at the VA and I had a treatment plan for you." When I heard that, I felt a huge sense of hope and listened to everything he had to say. He explained that long COVID is the residual effects of the damage the inflammation caused to our respiratory systems. That is because of all the damage done, our blood does not flow properly. And issues like brain fog are from the brain not receiving enough blood. He said he had a drug called Trental, pentoxifylline, that improves blood viscosity so it can flow properly again. He also prescribed me NAC, coconut oil, fish oil, probiotic, multivitamin, vitamin D, license, and taurine. It was a lot, but it was totally worth it. He also agreed with my natural antidepressant/anti-anxiety protocol of 5-HTP and L-theanine, which has worked wonders for over 20 years, and I am completely benzo and SSRI, even though I have wartime PTSD, depression, and anxiety, and I manage very well. Within a week of starting, I began to have more mental clarity, better memory, fewer body aches, and less fatigue. I ended up having an amazing summer with my kids and was able to maintain a pretty active schedule with them. I ended up stopping work to put 100% focus on my health. My living situation became toxic, and I was fortunate enough to be able to stay in temporary housing at the VA hospital for about 7 months, and it was amazing. It was much closer to my kids, so I got more time with them. I was able to get help with accessing benefits and dealing with my health issues. By the end of my stay, I felt like I was 100% and had even started working again. Unfortunately, I got rear-ended the first week of work and now I'm on medical leave. It was such a ridiculous scenario that all I could really do was laugh about it. And even though I'm in a crap ton of pain, it's honestly not as bad as LC and the feeling of hopelessness that came with thinking you will never get better. And at least I know surgery will resolve my medical issue. Just sucks that I need to get a spinal fusion. I hope that some of you can get something out of this. I do highly recommend speaking to your doctors about this protocol and getting their thoughts. Trental is quite mild and has minimal side effects. In fact, I don't even know what they are because I had none and never researched. I actually had an anesthesiologist say my doctor was a genius for recommending Trental, and she was going to be sharing my story with her colleagues. I wish I could recommend my dear, but he is a VA doctor, so he can only see veterans in New York. Hang in there, my fellow long haulers. It might not seem like it now, but with the right work and right doctor you can absolutely get better.